Ladies and gentlemen, testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. This is Mitchell McConnell speaking. And I just want to give you my honest thoughts about the Arizona and Georgia and New Hampshire and Michigan and Wisconsin and other recounts throughout this country, this great land. I just want to tell you that I am disgusted and extremely perturbed that people would follow the Orange Menace into oblivion, thinking that these completely partisan endeavors would be grounds for bringing back the orange monster. That's not going to happen. So, use your common sense. And just remember something. Mitchell McConnell does not stand by this egregious travesty or affront on democracy. Mitch McConnell out. Ladies and gentlemen, simply abiding by YouTube policies, I have to say, and this is my honest belief, you cannot confuse, ladies and gentlemen, a political recount for, like, President Trump being able to reclaim the Oval Office until 2024. So that's number one, abiding by YouTube policies, and also just this is actually a time when YouTube policies coincides directly with reality. These are political recounts that could help Trump and President Trump, Republicans that support President Trump, which is the majority of the Republican Party, tremendously. This would be a political victory of epic proportions for President Trump if discrepancies go his way, or when discrepancies go his way. But hit subscribe to this channel right now. Share this segment. It's very, very important because I'm going to explain, A, that Arizona has already finished the report. Just, you can read the article from the Arizona Republic. That's why the Senate's doing technically a third recount. Okay? That's why. Now, he's not going to be reinstated. President Biden's going to remain president until 2024. Anybody who tells you otherwise is wrong. I'm going to tell you the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. To my super chat, thank you so very much. If you want to talk about anything, if you want to give me your thoughts, your 2 cents, or just a compliment or anything, the super chat is greatly appreciated. You give me every incentive, ladies and gentlemen, to rock these live streams. Eric, H526, Luke St. Martin, thank you very much for being just amazing, for being amazing moderators. And number one, let's talk about the Arizona Republic article. So we'll look at the Arizona Republic article below in the description section. It's in the description section. Go ahead and read it for yourself. But if you click on it, you will find the following. Let me get it up. The article, that is. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so Arizona Senate plans its own recount of ballots at fairgrounds as audit ends. So they've purchased, ladies and gentlemen, counting equipment to engage in a third recount to verify findings. So what they want to do is verify the findings that have already been revealed or already been tabulated. So the recount has ended. The report has already either been completed or the report has already been completed or about to be completed. And because of whatever the reason is, whether the discrepancies could possibly give different numbers from the official tally or counter total that would give the Orange Menace the state from our beloved President Biden. Alice, hello. Eric, hello. Luke St. Martin, hello. Everybody here. Gigi, hello. So basically what's taking place, ladies and gentlemen, is a third recount simply to verify the numbers that were derived by cyber ninjas and Arizona Republicans. So Arizona Republicans, months back, through the state legislature, okay, this was not done like, this did not circumvent the law. Through the state legislature, what happened was they wanted to, because Trump Republicans do not trust the numbers, okay? Trump Republicans do not trust the numbers. They wanted to verify the results. The rebuttal as well, there were already recounts, but the recounts were 1% to 2% of ballots. In this case, they counted all hundreds of thousands of ballots, 1.2 million. So that is not a difficult concept to understand. It's a pretty easy concept to understand. The recounts, when they say, well, previous recounts have showed the numbers are accurate, the rebuttal from Republicans in Arizona is that previous recounts only counted 1% to 2% of ballots. They didn't count 100% of the ballots. So that's number one. Number two, it went through the state legislature. Number three, it was upheld by two judges, one of which recused himself. So there were no conflicts of interest from the court's perspective. Number four, the only negative feedback or rebuttal that Democrats and media have is, how dare you? How dare you?
How dare you? Have you no shame? How dare you recount what never Trump Republicans and Democrats have found to be pristine and more pure than the driven snow?
The only real rebuttal from Democrats, is, well, how dare you engage in these types of recounts? You should simply trust the numbers because that's the way our democracy works. These are the same people who spent every single second of every single hour, of every single day, of every single week, of every single month saying Trump might have written love letters to Putin. And Bernie Sanders honeymooned in Moscow. And Jill Stein was part of a Russian plot. So was General Michael Flynn, and George Papadopoulos, and Carter Page, and Paul Manafort. And there is evidence. There's an endless trove of evidence pointing to Trump working with the Kremlin and Putin to buy Facebook ads, which swung a whole number of voters. And Trump is an illegitimate president. He was installed as Jimmy Carter, the man who single-handedly ushered in 12 years of Republican rule. He was installed by the Kremlin. Agent Pepsi, what? If it is shown, gigantic crisis, there are also enormous ramifications for Senate. Agent Pepsi 1. Agent Pepsi 1, thank you as always. Paul, hello. Agent Pepsi 1, I think that, I'm actually, for people who might not like the title of this, it's almost, this is actually within the Arizona Republic. So I am reporting on the Arizona Republic article. The Arizona Republic, Arizona Senate plans its own recount of ballots. Why? Because they got information from cyber ninjas. Cyber ninjas. I didn't name the company. I have nothing to do with them. I have nothing to do with Arizona. I don't even live in Arizona. I'm just reading the Arizona Republic. Okay? So the Republicans in the Senate got a number, a tally, a sum. Sorry, Agent Pepsi 1. There's a gentleman who was dismayed by my reporting of this from the Arizona Republic article, which states within the article that they're recounting the recount. Did I tell them to recount the recount? No. But I'm reporting based on the Arizona Republic article that says the Arizona Republicans in the Senate received a total or sum or number that they need to verify or that they wish to verify. Not my fault. Anyway, calm down. Calm down, breathe. Breathe, breathe.
Agent Pepsi 1. Thank you so very much.
David, hello. So, not my fault, just to reiterate, that the Senate Republicans in Arizona received a sum or total that they now want to verify by counting again. Do I know if the sum or total will give a political victory in the form of President Trump saying that, well, you see, the recount showed different numbers from the official count, which would not, do you hear me? YouTube guidelines and community. I am not saying, nor do I believe, that Trump will be reinstalled because he will have to wait until 2024. Anyone saying otherwise is wrong. I told people never listen to absurd message boards in 2018. I'm telling people now, we must wait until 2024. Okay? We must wait until 2024. Okay? We must wait until 2024. Okay? Inga! Thank you, Inga! Inga the Binky, thank you so very much. Inga is a wonderful, awesome person. Inga, thank you so very much. Beautiful on the inside and outside. Inga, thank you so very much. You're awesome, and thank you for always watching. The Cheeto will return. We have to wait until 2024 for the Cheeto, the Orange Menace. Orange Julius Caesar. Orange Julius Caesar to return. Thank you, Inga. Thank you for becoming a member. I hope all is well. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much. Inga, thank you. So, according to, let me just repeat this again. According to the Arizona Republic, the Senate Republicans have received a count, a total, a sum, a tally, a number. Is this number different from the official total? I don't know. I don't know. I have no clue. Very likely, since it is a partisan recount, which isn't just because Christopher Hitchens said this, being partisan doesn't always mean or necessarily mean you're wrong. However, nobody is claiming, like, this recount is obviously partisan, even if Republicans in the Senate say it's nonpartisan. It's obviously partisan. Trump and Trump Republicans, who comprise the majority of the GOP, the vast majority now, although they don't know it.
I beg to differ on that.
They don't know it, but Trump runs the Republican Party because his populist policies, record low unemployment, record low Black and Latino unemployment, bringing home Americans from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts that Bush and President Obama fostered. These are good things. Trump Republicans engaged in a recount because they do not trust the official numbers. They don't trust the official numbers from Trump's perspective, from President Trump's perspective. Pandemic-related reforms based on science, and based on safety, science and safety and science. Always be safe, and science and safety made it easier for everyone on the planet to vote whether or not they even wanted an absentee. When states like Georgia, Arizona say, we know there's only one or two were counted. One or two. Trump says that's not possible. Trump says he doesn't trust the numbers. Trump says Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign because Democrats can't even run a fair and neutral primary. How on earth would never Trump Republicans and Democrats preside over a fair and neutral November? That's Trump's perspective, not my own, because I am abiding by policies. That's Trump's perspective. The Orange Menace. Wrong. I did a Trump the other day. You are the worst VP ever. 100th out of 100th. I can't really do it, but apparently Pence and Trump got into a physical altercation, according to this new book. They got into a physical altercation where, see, they have to create this nightmarish scenario about Trump. Trump is the embodiment of their nightmares. He's a living embodiment. He's the epitome of everything they find atrocious. So they can't, like record low unemployment, first president to step foot in North Korea to begin détente between North and South Korea, that President Moon Jae-in stated Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. Prison reform legislation he signed, allocating more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. Signing an executive order to combat anti-Semitism, which is running rampant on college campuses, Trump did. So all of these things he stumbled upon. Because, he really couldn't have done all these good things because, he's Trump. So they have to make this kind of fictional, this fantasy. They have to create this fantasy about President Trump where Pence was like, Mr. President, you are not going to bully me any longer. If you throw a newspaper at me, by the power of Ronald Reagan's Bible, I'm going to defend myself. Why don't you bring it? You're not intimidating at all. Mr. President, don't you put your finger in my chest. What are you going to do about it? I don't know. I can't. So that's basically what they try to create in their minds. So you look at they went from Trump works with Russia, which I told everyone was absurd. So I was right about that. And the most lucrative thing on the planet, and this is like what the far left does. They say, we critique the Democratic Party, but we critique them, but at the end of the day, it's vote blue no matter who. Vote blue no matter who. And if the Lincoln Project and Bush and Cheney and Rumsfeld's foreign policy hawks, if they vote Democrat also, somehow that coincides with Medicare for all. So Bill Kristol and Max Boot and the Lincoln Project and all of Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld's foreign policy advisors and international relation quote-unquote scholars and hawks, they're voting alongside the edgy democratic socialists or edgy socialists who you have this public relations monstrosity that is always voting blue no matter who. It doesn't matter if they create this McCarthy-era Red Scare madness where Tulsi Gabbard, Trump, a journalist that certain $20 million venture capital funded democratic socialists tried to go after, and you see the true colors. I'm not going to bring up certain people's names. You see their true colors. You see that who they are inside. You're supposed to defend your friends. Sorry. Even like you're going to make $30,000 to $50,000 a month anyway. You can't defend your friend? You can't defend somebody that you know is innocent? A journalist that was accused of having been either working or related in some way to Russian propaganda? You don't have the integrity? You make 30 to 50 grand a month? You don't have the integrity to defend this person? Well, that's what you're talking about. I told people, I basically said this in more ways than one 5 years ago, but nobody listens to me. That's fine. It's fine. It's not a problem. I'm actually glad nobody listens to me. I'm actually happy nobody listens to me. But anyway, no, I'm not. I am not a supporter of anything that happened in January. Number one. Number two, if Trump was guilty, he would have been indicted in a court of law in D.C. by either the Attorney General or the mayor. So he wasn't. Okay? And if you try to, let's say, I don't know, if you're engaged, if you think that's the French Revolution in January, the vote still took place, and thank God. I mean, you look at the people who lost their lives, the majority were at that moment aligned with President Trump. So it's like, I don't know what, like, the left is completely bonkers, and then they ignore $1 to $2 billion in property damage and over 25 lives lost according to Wikipedia. Tig! It's not $20 million like those. With $5, you're on your way, brother. Be well. Tig, thank you so very much. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. I appreciate that greatly. And I can't tell you, you know what? I am so happy. I am so happy that I have you and everybody here watching. We have 974 viewers. We have almost 1,000 viewers on this channel. I only have Tig and everybody here. I only have 182,000 subs. And we have close to 1,000 1,000 viewers on the live stream. So I'm just thankful. I thank God for everybody here, and I thank God for the ability that I have that really my viewers have given me to voice my thoughts and my opinions. I will be writing a lot more, so I'll be hopefully published in some pretty wonderful publications nationally, hopefully very soon. So I'm pitching articles again, and it's going well. The feedback has been fantastic. And, I've been swimming upstream for a long time. So thank you so very, very much. David! Thank you, David. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Tig. Thank you so very much, as always. Thank you. You look, ladies and gentlemen, and they have nothing on Trump. They have nothing on President Trump, and it's a really, really slow news week in terms of trying to drum up some kind of scandal pertaining to Trump. We have crime soaring, inflationary concerns we didn't have even last year. There aren't many. Our beloved President Biden does not have many achievements or successes. He really doesn't. Okay? And this, by the way, is like media, the New York Times, the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, actively suppressing any major story or breakthrough that a wonderful publication, the New York Post and others, have been a truly wonderful publication. New York Post is fantastic. They were suspended by Twitter last year for breaking a story that was detrimental to the Democratic Party, the same social media platforms that elevated and amplified the Steele dossier, which was complete and utter nonsense, completely fabricated. They then said, "Gosh, we just don't know if this is true." Nobody knew. We knew that the Steele dossier was completely unverified and complete nonsense. But if you are going to say we can't talk about unverified things, why report on every single day of unverified? Why report on unverified stories pertaining to Trump every single day? People associated with the matter, people associated with Trump, Trump's inner circle, people speaking on condition of anonymity. A book said that Trump said that he had relations with extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials. News at 5. He had a romantic encounter with an extraterrestrial. Do you believe that? Would you believe that if Trump, do you understand? They would believe it. I swear to God. The same being that Democrats don't believe, but they believe John Brennan. Are you an atheist? Yeah. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with being an atheist. It's fine. But the way liberal, wonderful Democratic atheists think is, I'm completely secular and rational and logical. I don't believe there's a God because there's no evidence. Okay. You think Trump worked with Russia? Absolutely. Where's your evidence? Well, John Brennan thinks so. Okay, it's like, do you see that makes no sense at all? Do you not see that you're being hypocritical? Most of the world believes in God. A God. Very intelligent people believe in God. The consensus on experts has always said from the beginning of humanity that a God exists. So you're going to disagree. Why? Well, there's no evidence, but there's a consensus. Well, that's just their opinion. You think Trump worked with Russia? Well, of course he did. Well, where are the indictments? He found a way to... Well, where's the evidence? Well, we have the Steele dossier. Well, that was purchased by Clinton, and nobody was indicted on that. Well, the Senate confirmed it. What did they confirm? They confirmed a high to moderate confidence assessment. So you're saying that they confirmed an opinion. Well, the same people who pride themselves on being the most rational individuals are also the same people who will believe anything as long as a lot of very intelligent people, credible experts, believe that Trump worked with Russia. Or that Trump pressured Zelensky, but there was no evidence, there was no direct evidence that he did. Even 538 admitted that. There was no direct evidence at all. General D! Keep plugging for Trump, HA. It's important we get someone back in the White House who is sane. Our gas prices in Austria are through the roof. God bless you, General D. Thank you so very much. Yeah, I mean, I look at the world today, and Trump's America was a lot better than Biden's America. We have crime through the roof. Then they tried to, General D and everybody here, thank you very much, General D, thank you. Then what they tried to do, General D and everybody, they said, well, surveys show that most people can't point to their own neighborhoods as having soaring crime. That's because you surveyed people who live in areas that don't have soaring crime. Huh? Get it? Do you understand? Are you an alien? Timothy, hello. Are you an alien? Hello, Timothy. So General D, instead of simply looking at the crime statistics compiled by local authorities, they simply then say, well, Stephen Parton, thank you so very much, Stephen. Thank you for becoming a new member of this channel. Thank you, Stephen Parton. Thank you. Greatly, 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 greatly appreciate it, Stephen. Thank you. Inga, thank you, as always. So, what they tried to do is, you can look, ladies and gentlemen, the most horrendous medical procedures, have been championed, or they've been part of a consensus of experts. Vietnam, we got into Vietnam. The smartest people, Yale, Harvard graduates, got us into Vietnam, and the intelligentsia of our country has never been worse, or it's basically tied with the intelligentsia of the same people who got us into the absolute worst military conflicts. In fact, they even did simulations where the smartest people in the room at the Pentagon found out we could not win. In the early 60s, in the mid-60s, that we could not win. They found that they knew already. They did all the simulations. They're the smartest people in the room, the greatest experts, the most renowned international relations scholars at the best universities in the country. And still, we didn't learn that there's a difference between intelligence and wisdom. God bless the Vietnam veterans of this country, and God bless the Vietnamese American community of the United States of America. If I bring up that time period, I want to say that. But the smartest people in the room are oftentimes the people that lack wisdom. They don't have wisdom. And you're looking at people like, if it's Tulsi Gabbard versus Mitch McConnell or Marco Rubio, I'm voting for, H.A. Goodman is voting for Tulsi Gabbard 1,000 out of 1,000 times, even if she's a Democrat. If it's Trump versus Clinton or Trump versus Biden, I'm voting for Trump 1,000 out of 1,000 times. I don't care about allegiance to a political party. I wasn't born to be to give blind allegiance to a political party. I wasn't born to give blind allegiance to a political party. That's what Democrats demand. You have one political party demanding obedience and blind allegiance, so much so that Biden said, you are not who you are if you don't vote for him. And that was immediately defended by the Washington Post and others by saying, well, Trump is worse. Okay, I agree that Trump should tone down rhetoric. Don't give Democrats a reason to be indignant, because that's their fuel. Indignation is the fuel that runs the Democratic Party. But there's nothing that Trump has said that's worse than what Biden said to Charlemagne the God, and there's nothing that Trump has done that's worse than what President Obama did to Libya. And those are facts. You can look at President Obama's foreign policy and compare. Trump had a much better foreign policy. And you can look at when you look at media coverage, when you look at how a public official is viewed within his or her country, the poll ratings have a direct relationship with the media coverage. You know, people within the polling industry or surveys or public relations, they say, well, this person is polarizing. If they covered Trump in the manner they cover Biden, he would be even more popular within the Republican Party and throughout the country. The fact that he had approval within the 40s at all is unbelievable, considering 92% negative media coverage. Could you imagine if everything that was ever written about you was negative? How would people How would people view you if 92% of media coverage about you was negative? How would they view you? A lot of what President Trump experienced in some way he did to himself. In some ways, these were self-inflicted wounds. He didn't realize that if you take a baseball bat and bash a hornet's nest of liberal angst and indignation for too long, it's like a locomotive. It's like a avalanche. There will eventually be a point where there's so much indignation and angst and contempt and disdain that it does turn into political momentum, serious political momentum. And I don't think that people who were watching President Trump the last year on Twitter realized that what he was doing was basically fell into a trap, a pitfall, and a lot of self-inflicted wounds pertaining to public relations. If he had just simply got off Twitter a year before, I think history would be different. I really do. Because our beloved President Biden, our beloved leader, dear leader, who is really a man of substance, and when he speaks like this, pay them more. And I love when he I just love when President Biden whispers, because he emphasizes things that make no sense. So he was talking about a shortage of workers, and then he was like, "Yeah, go, but you have to pay them more." It's like, well, sometimes employers don't have the money to do so. That would be fantastic if they did. Sometimes they don't have the money. Oftentimes they just don't have the money. Especially in this day and age, they don't have the money. Maybe because you had $1 to $2 billion in property damage, and you had business owners of all backgrounds, by the way. Not just people who look like Biden and his son, but people of all backgrounds had their businesses absolutely demolished in very peaceful endeavors by people who wanted good things. So, when he talks like this, it's like, it reminds me, whenever Biden whispers, it reminds me of the scene in History of the World, King Louis. It reminds me of that scene where if you know what I'm talking about, you might find it amusing, but like, he's just in his own world, and media is, oh my God, they really think they're getting away with it. They really think they're doing a great job. King Louis. But ladies and gentlemen, you have our beloved president's son now. So, I mean, the Arizona Republican recount, getting back to that, the numbers have already been tabulated. Okay? The numbers have already been tabulated, and you have a situation where right now it is about public relations. Democrats do not want anyone. They don't want anyone to take it seriously. They don't want anyone to take, because, polls have shown, the same polls that Democrats worship, Asian Pepsi won! Darth Tasha Me is running. In 2020. I'll vote for you. Agent Pepsi 1, thank you. The same people who complained about Russia for 4 years are the same people who say, how dare you try to tarnish our pristine victory. Only one or two people had their choices counted, even though everyone on the planet had the ability to choose between the Orange Menace and our beloved President Biden. And the only people that happened to have their choice counted within the overall tally, it was only about one or two. Of course, the postman was overrun. But these are questions that only Democrats in the Democratic primary or Republicans last November would ask. And then you have Morning Joe Scarborough saying, well, everyone is asking these questions. I mean, nobody should take Trump seriously. But everyone's asking questions about the New York mayoral contest. Democrats can't even run their own primary. They can't even run their own primary. They can't even run. They can't even run their own primary. And it's like they react with indignation. Indignation is the fuel that runs the Democratic Party. It's not the fuel that runs. It used to be the fuel, the power source for the Republican Party, but they've been bullied into submission. Mittens Romney and the good Republicans. I'm a good Republican. I'm a good Republican. I comb my hair in a very good manner. I put my dog on top of my car like Mittens for a cross-country voyage. Of course, if that happened today, they would send me to The Hague. But I was given pretty fair media treatment. But I'm a good, in 2012, not 92% negative media coverage like Trump. But I'm a good Republican, and I oppose Trump as a deranged person. I mean, he's uncouth, he's boorish. He's a mean person. I mean, prison reform legislation, signing a deal to negotiate a deal to bring home Americans from the endless quagmires that Bush and President Obama fostered. I mean, come on. Who needs that? Really, who needs that? Look what he tweeted. Pierre Delecto would never do that. So that's like the Mittens Romneys of the world. Let's see, hold on a second. The Mitt Romneys of the world believe that the Mitt Romneys of the world believe that it's Trump's personality that is a real detriment to the country. They don't realize that media Democrats took every word that he's ever said, distorted and warped the context, what he was trying to say. He even, PolitiFact, oftentimes, the Washington Post almost always, took a statement from Trump. Like Trump would say, yeah, they all admit there's no evidence. Dun 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 dun. Fact. Fact check. It's a fact. Dun 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 dun. We're gonna talk to you about facts. Our ruling, based on our viewpoint of the semantics and the definition of these words, dun 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 dun, shows that Trump was engaged not only in a little bit of hyperbole, but basically told the truth. He was false. 100% false.
Can our country stand this liar?
He's always lying. What did he lie about? James Clapper didn't say there was no evidence. James Clapper said he didn't see any evidence. You see? You see how Trump was lying? The Clapper said he didn't see any evidence, but there could have been evidence had the evidence existed of Trump-Russia. The fact that $30 billion worth of intelligence agencies found no evidence at all, that just wasn't enough for Trump to have made an accurate statement. That was even reiterated by James Clapper himself to Chuck Todd. Don't you see? PolitiFact. The Washington Post. The trusted names in news. That's CNN. They are completely petulant when it comes to... They're absolutely petulant when it comes to Trump. And when it comes to Biden or anyone else, it's fine. It's no big deal. Like, they don't realize that they're in the... media is not objective. New York prosecutors are not apolitical, impartial, or objective. They're lifelong Democrats. And they're almost certainly not concerned about the rule of law. The Mueller probe was not concerned about the rule of law. The rule of law should tell everybody that if you're going to go after Trump, then go after Democrats for the same or even worse. So if you're going to go after Trump for possibly paying for his CFO's grandchildren's tuition, well, there's the president's son who has incriminating emails that point to the president lying numerous times about meeting business associates as the sitting vice president. And you have business associates coming out, and you have both the president and his son who have not who they've never stated those emails are categorically not their own, or not owned by his son. So they've never denied any link, and they even said, well, yeah, they could be my emails. They live within plausible deniability. That's the thing. They live within plausible deniability. That's the issue. If they don't have plausible deniability, then, and you have to understand, I don't get, this is something I don't get. I'm not conservative on everything, but I'm more so now the Second Amendment, other issues. I'm very conservative on. Over the years, I've become more conservative on certain things. But you look at, there's this realm of conservatives who view themselves to be ideologically opposed to liberal viewpoints or ideologies. But they can't. They look at Trump as the same type of monster. They look at Trump as the same type of monster that Democrats see him to be. They call him deranged. They say that Trump is deranged and that he's just, a horrible human being. And it's like, well, okay, how can anyone in their right mind support an individual like Trump? Well, let's see. Record low unemployment, that's one. Single-handedly reversing U.S. foreign policy, that's two. To negotiate a deal to bring home Americans from our longest-running counterinsurgency conflict. Sorry, I want Americans home from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. I'll take Trump's tweets if I can get record low unemployment, a president who signs the First Step Act, a president who allocates more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever, a president who said the same things as Kamala Harris not long ago, but he was vilified for it, but mainly foreign policy. I will vote for anyone the Lincoln Project opposes. If you're a Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld advisor, H.A. Goodman is going to vote for your opponent. So they don't like Trump. They don't like his foreign policy. That's how you vote for Trump. If Trump opposes the same types of people who've tried to run the country into the ground, that's a good reason to vote for him. His populist message or his populist policies worked. We had record low unemployment. We had wage increases all throughout President Trump's tenure. Then they said real wages. They aren't increasing. How are real wages now? Have you heard the term real wages at all with Biden? No, because inflation is up. We have inflationary concerns. That's what real wages take into account. You never hear any. Look, you are going to hear things from people, if it's Trump, that they've never been into politics before. They have never been into economics. The only thing they just don't like Trump. So suddenly they're the expert on every issue. And still we had a great economy. And it was always, did the tax cuts really work? It's like, yeah, the Dallas Federal Reserve said the tax cuts increased GDP. And you look at the infrastructure bill, that's barely going to increase GDP, and by some estimates will decrease GDP. So why would you? I don't understand this. You've tanked the entire United States economy, and then you're going to spend well over $1 trillion on an infrastructure bill that won't help the economy. I don't get it at all. I don't understand it at all. But see, you have to understand. They're gluttons for punishment. Liberal Democrats are gluttons for punishment. Biden infrastructure. So let's just see. Hold on. If you look, we find that this is from Wharton School of Business. We find that when you wrap it all together with pertaining to Biden's infrastructure plan, we find by 2031 GDP will fall around 1%. What? The gross domestic product of this country will fall by 1%? This is when our economy is basically hanging by a thread because of science, safety. Are you serious? But he said GDP is not everything. It doesn't, for example, measure internet connection speeds. Analysts at the University of Pennsylvania's Penn Wharton budget model took a look at Biden's infrastructure plan. When you wrap it all together, we find by 2031, GDP will fall by around 1%, said faculty director. But he said GDP is not everything. It doesn't, for example, measure internet connection speeds. What? Internet connection speeds? What are you even talking about, man? The economy would shrink. The economy would shrink. And you're looking at what is the benefit? I want to know, how does it help decrease wealth inequality? If anything, it's fantastic for Democrats, because if they can always keep people or always ignore the lack of wealth generation or the lack of economic progress, they can just always complain about it, and it's part of the racket. That's why Bernie Sanders, he's generally all talk. You could, if you really wanted Medicare for all, you could get it in 2 seconds. All you would have to do is start a third party that's viable. And that's not that difficult. There's already the Green Party. If you got every young person to vote Green, the Democrats would tank in 2 seconds, and they would actually adopt Green Party policies like Medicare for all, like Green New Deal legislation. But then don't say the planet, our existence is at stake, and then pass a resolution you don't even want to vote on. The Green New Deal resolution was only a resolution. It was public relations. They didn't even vote on it. It wasn't even legislation. They don't even want to vote on legislation pertaining to the Green New Deal because they know that they would get completely eviscerated by Republicans and by Democrats. So, analysts at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton budget model say that the infrastructure plan by 2031 would decrease GDP by 1%. Please, somebody tell me how that's a good thing. Michael the Archangel, hello. David, hello. Inga, hello. How on earth is that a good thing? It's pretty unbelievable how... And then you look... This is a Raw story article. Laughable. CNN panel stunned after Arizona GOP requests another recount. So this is the recount that we're talking about. And yet another recount. Oh my God. The co-hosts of New Day, CNN's New Day, expressed astonishment after the Arizona Republic reported Republicans in the Arizona Senate are making plans to recount again. It's again. They're doing it again. Okay, where's the story here? CNN is astonished by something? They're always... The indignation levels are always at 11. Well, what's the story? The Republic explained, quote, so the state Senate Republicans had started their recount on April 23rd. That's more than 2 months ago. They were packing up the ballots and already to ship them back to the counties, saying their recount was complete. And then yesterday, our reporter was on the scene, and Senator Karen Fann told her later we are going to actually recount the ballots again. What? It's a triple check. You've heard of a double check. This is a triple check. They might even go for a quadruple check. These Republicans. Trump. Horrible menace. Trump. Trump. This is recounting, not divided. So she said it's a triple check. So they're actually so recounting the ballots. Okay, meanwhile, it doesn't look like Cyber Ninjas is involved in this one. Okay, so Cyber Ninjas is involved. But they're recounting the ballots to make sure that the number, the tally they got from Cyber Ninjas. These third-party tech firms are fantastic. They have the best names. And so these are the articles you get. Pro-Trump Republicans are flocking to the site of partisan Arizona ballot audit. NPR, how Arizona ballot is a disinformation exercise. Dun 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 dun. So, this is a very typical article. What they'll do, if they don't like something, it could be Trump, it could be the recount, it could be anything. They'll say a headline like, this is simply a recount in name only. It's a fraudit. And then they'll say, so-and-so, who is the head of the nonpartisan Organization for Fantastic Things, nonpartisan organization for fantastic things, says that this thing is a travesty. Quote, I've seen what's taking place. It's making a mockery of democracy and everything good in the rule of law. And Republicans and Trump should be ashamed of themselves. Experts have agreed. And a lot of people who know how these things are run are sounding the alarms. We spoke to one Democrat in Arizona. I'm ashamed right now of what is happening in the state I love so much. Even Republicans are backing this Democrat and the nonpartisan organization. I'm a Republican. I've been a conservative my whole life, quote, says Good Republican, representative named Good Republican. And I just want to let everybody know that I am embarrassed. I am ashamed, even though the recount went through the state legislature and it was upheld by 2 judges, so it's the epitome of democracy, but whatever, honestly. I just want to let everybody know that I side with Democrats and goodness and justice. And let the record know, years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, when you find a time capsule, just understand one thing, that I was against the Arizona recount because it's a fraud. I'm on the side of justice and reason and truth. Why are you watching then? So, why watch if it's so boring? God. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead really quickly. The results are with the Senate Republicans. And this is Slate. What if the unorthodox Arizona audit declares the Orange Menace? The Orange Menace won. That outcome is looking more and more likely. This is an article in Slate about a month ago. Let's read the last paragraph here. Hold on one second. And if the recount looks like a circus, And if the recount looks like a circus to the people who have to deal with it directly, it looks more like a model to Republicans elsewhere seeking a way to keep the results in doubt, as national Republicans have purged dissenters and rejected a bipartisan commission. Why would you need a commission to investigate January when the mayor of D.C. and the attorney general of D.C. did not level charges at Trump? My God almighty. They don't use basic logic. Media does not, they don't use basic logic. Basic logic would tell you that if Trump told anyone to do anything that was illegal, that you could simply say in a court of law, that he should be indicted. Or that you could indict him in a court of law. You could have simply done that. Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they simply do that? But bipartisan committee, yeah, right. Of never Trumpers and Democrats. Gee, it's so bipartisan. You know what's so bipartisan? You know what? Mueller was a Republican. And James Comey's a registered Republican. It's bipartisan. But, God forbid, Tulsi Gabbard, oh my God, Russia. Trump and his supporters have called for similar audits in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, and New Hampshire. A Republican candidate for governor in Georgia has promised to initiate, even if some of these states don't ultimately go through, the continued challenges are giving cover for Republicans to pass laws suppressing the vote, which, by the way, the Supreme Court completely demolished that argument. The Supreme Court has allowed any Republican legislature to enact restrictions or reforms of current law that was based on, these were pandemic-related reforms, because Democrats who listen to experts and care about safety didn't want to vote in person. So then it was just anyone who's ever existed on the planet gets something sent in the mail and it's all good. So before we go, let's look at, I just want to type, let's see, Trump real quick. Let's just see what they're saying. Let's see, look, you type in Biden. It's really interesting. You type in Biden and you get articles about CNN spoke with Trump support at CPAC. Who knows Biden won? It's like, you spent 4 years calling Trump an illegitimate president. Then you pretend. You can't find one hit piece. Biden warns Putin to act against. Oh, what a warning. Nothing. Let's look at Trump now. Nothing, by the way, on his wonderful son and the son's emails, which are incriminating, it's pretty unbelievable. Like, you couldn't find more incriminating messages. And they simply ignore it. Like, it never happened. And, like, half the country is like, yeah, we are seeing this. You cannot... This is right in front of you. The same story you try to suppress. Gee, maybe it's actually really important. Maybe that's the corruption that actually exists, and you're just going after Trump to torment him, to say, hey, look over there, like this political sleight of hand. And the actual corruption is Democratic dynasties or families, or Democrats utilizing politics and government to enrich themselves. But anyway, let's look at Trump. You type in Trump. Trump's false claims persist at conservative gathering in Texas. Well, at one point, At what point do you say, okay, CNN, MSNBC, the Washington Post, the New York Times, they're basically extensions of the Democratic Party? At what point do you say this? At what point can people acknowledge, even if they, let's just say they believe that CNN is the truth? At what point do you finally realize that most of American media is no longer interested in truth, independent of whether or not it hurts the Democratic Party? They're interested in facts that could be utilized by one political side against another. Like, I find it very difficult to understand how very intelligent people, who are conservatives also, and obviously liberals, very intelligent, they despise Trump and they ignore the reality and the fact that their perception of him is influenced by journalists and media and publications and cable stations that have only contempt for the man. Like, they don't separate the 92 to 100% negative media coverage with their perception of him. It's pretty unbelievable, because the reverse is true for our beloved President Biden. If media didn't actively protect this man, if media didn't actively protect President Biden, you'd have stories, a whole lot of stories that wouldn't be good for one political side. That's why I say politics has become a religion. I did a segment on my last upload, so check that out. I did a segment on an NBC News article, on how, like, there was this article talking about how if people don't want to date a Trump supporter, it's the Trump supporter's fault because he or she is backing a really horrible person. And it's like, okay, that's an interesting take. The problem, though, is that you would have to convince yourself that President Obama didn't engage in a failed NATO intervention that absolutely obliterated a country, turned Libya into a failed state, and that is objectively worse than anything President Trump did. But they can't, you couldn't, if you compared President Trump, President Obama, and Bush, and you asked yourself, the worst thing, what's the worst thing? What is the absolute worst thing that each president did? Bush, he destabilized an entire region of the world. President Obama, His worst mistake, according to him, was the NATO intervention that led to an absolute catastrophe, causing Libya to become a failed state. And Trump, what's the worst thing that happened under Trump's watch? I would love to know. Aside from his rhetoric, his tarnishing democracy, and he took a giant you-know-what on the Constitution, like all of this hyperbolic nonsense. Specifically, what did this man do? Oh, the pandemic was his fault? Nope, wasn't his fault. He said it was a hoax? Never said that, actually. You will never find a quote. He was talking about the media reaction to his response. He could have done more? Okay. Was his reaction as bad as Andrew Cuomo's or Whitmer's or Phil Murphy's? Democrats preside over the worst outcomes according to the New York Times statistics. They had the highest per capita rates. So then when you have the far left people like, oh, look at other countries did better in terms of their response. Like, well, Sweden actually did a lot better. A lot better than France, UK, Spain, Italy. And they did nothing. Practically nothing. None of the draconian responses. But how is that Trump's fault? Like, you can't find, the only thing they don't like, you can't blame, and he, like, the economic catastrophe that resulted, that wasn't Trump's fault. Science doesn't tell you to do anything in terms of economics. You have to, politicians come to their own conclusions, and a great many of their conclusions were meant to simply harm Trump politically. Had nothing to do with benefiting people's lives. They hid behind that for a long time. They hid behind that for a long, long time. But you look at 3 of Trump's 4 years in office, we had record low unemployment, we had wages increasing, we had a stock market that was doing very well, so people's retirement accounts were doing well, and what did this man do? What did this man do that was so horrible? Aside from not working with Russia, not colluding with Russia. He told the truth there. He never colluded with Russia. The whole thing was a tinfoil hat fantasy. So his Twitter account took on a life of its own, and he suddenly became a despot, worse than any of the authoritarians in years past. And these were people, by the way, who know nothing about history, who lack basic knowledge and basic critical thinking skills. You can't compare Trump to a despot when he signed prison reform legislation. So, he didn't preside over mass incarceration. He did the opposite. He signed prison reform legislation. It was Democrats who presided over mass incarceration. You can't call him a despot because usually authoritarians utilize their intelligence agencies. Usually authoritarians utilize their intelligence agencies against their political opponents. That's what Democrats did. They're the ones who created a Red Scare McCarthy era world. So you can't say he did that. So how is he this despot? He was struck down by the Supreme Court numerous times. He was upheld by the Supreme Court or usually struck down by federal judges. And he had numerous defeats in the Supreme Court. So how is he this authoritarian? I want to know. Like they say, he's an authoritarian. Well, you feel good about yourself when you say that, but it doesn't. There's no reality. It doesn't pertain to reality. So they just didn't. They don't like his personality. They don't like the man's personality. And they utilize their contempt and disdain for his personality to make absurd leaps of logic. Then they would say, oh, I would fight and I would oppose the 1930s and 1940s Germans. No, you wouldn't. You'd be one of the most virulent, you'd be one of the most fanatical, virulent ideologues, zealots Look at the way they view anyone who disagrees with them in any way, shape, or form. Alan, hello. Look at the way they disagree with Trump. Like, look at the manner in which they investigate. With James Comey, with Clinton, it's like, there was no intent there. Gosh, we found top secret intelligence on servers, but there was no intent. What? We couldn't find anything with Trump and Russia? Okay. Were there perks that he paid his CFO? No. He did? Oh my God. He paid his CFO's grandchildren's tuition? He paid his CFO's grandchildren's tuition? The man is a monster. The man is an absolute monster. The monster mesh. The man is an absolute despot and tyrant and authoritarian. And I know he worked with Russia, but you know what we can get him on? Paying for his CFO's grandchild's tuition and leasing cars. They went from, he worked as a foreign intelligence operative. He was installed by the Kremlin, which is the most absurd. Like, you would have to be in some kind of alternate reality to have taken that seriously even one day. And you had all the left-leaning pundits, the vote blue no matter who people, everything on CNN, the Washington Post, CNN, filtered down to them. They believed everything because it suited them, even though it was completely absurd. And they utilized people like John Brennan and Clapper who lied under oath. These people committed perjury under oath, but they didn't care because it was Trump. Liberty, thank you. They didn't care because it was Trump. As long as it harmed Trump politically, they did not care. Revco! Comparing the dossier mess with tinfoil hat is an insult to tinfoil. It's true. Revco! Thank you, Revco! Thank you, Revco! Thank you so much. I agree. The thing was so absurd. It was so absurd. I remember like one day in band camp, I remember people saying, hey, Trump worked with Russia. Yeah, he owes money. His returns will show it. Oh, by the way, they got his tax returns. Revco, it's so true. Larry, thank you. They got his tax returns. And Revco, what did they find? Nothing. They found nothing. But they want it, like, there has to be some kind of way. There has to be some kind of way to show that, like, there must be some kind of legal recourse for Trump. And if there's any attorneys on this stream, like, there has to be some kind of law, and I know there is in New York and in every state, but there must be a legal recourse that Trump can utilize to show that these people are partisan actors, that they're simply lifelong Democrats, and you have Tammany Hall, a political machine, going after Trump. It makes no sense. Revco, thank you so very much. It makes no sense. It's pretty obvious. Like, it's pretty obvious that they keep finding nothing. Like, every time they accuse Trump of something, every single time they accuse Trump of something, every single time, they move the goalposts further and further away. And They move the goalpost further and further away. They say he worked with Russia. They couldn't find anything with the Mueller probe. They say that we need to see his returns. They couldn't find anything, so they went after Alan Weisselberg. Now they're saying they went from he was installed by Putin to he paid for his CFO's car payments. Does that make any sense at all? What kind of rational, these are the same people who say Trump is a menace, he's boorish, he's mean, he's a deranged, he's a despot, he's an authoritarian, he's a tyrant. These are the people who, salivate. They're so obsessed with trying to harm him politically or anyone around him. Chica normal! It's not about his personality. It's against what he stands for. Before being in politics, he was loved by Denver Republicans. Exactly. Chica normal. Great point. And they all watched The Apprentice. So that's a great point. That's a great point. That's a great point. It's true. They all watched The Apprentice for years and years and years. They had no problem at all with Trump. He pretty much, you don't have a show, you don't have a reality show for that many years with people who despise you. That's not happening, really. You're going to need all of those wonderful directors and producers in Hollywood, the liberal Democrats in Hollywood. They would have embraced his rear end at any point prior to 2016 and very likely after 2016. Chica normal, great point. Revco! Have you seen the massive tweet thread talk about nail in the head? Sounded a lot like your shows, honestly. Thank you. I don't have Revco. Thank you so very much. I don't have Twitter, but I'll look up. I don't have Twitter. I haven't had Twitter for 3 years. I haven't had Facebook for 3 years either. I'll look that up. I find that oh, nice. Nice. I find that, thank you, Revco. Thank you so very much. Oh, okay, so his YouTube channel. I find that it's really interesting. It's really interesting what Democrats or what morally superior left-leaning voters, Revco, will believe. They'll believe anything. Greg Landry! Great stream tonight. Really good stuff. Thank you, Greg. Thank you very, very, very much. Greatly appreciate. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much for watching. And I appreciate that greatly. Thank you, Greg. Thank you. Yeah, we're doing well tonight. Eric, H526, Luke St. Martin. I know Luke, Quick Draw. I call him Quick Draw, Luke St. Martin, and Eric, H526. They were busy tonight because early on, there were some, let's say, less than civil people on the chat. But that usually never happens. But they had to regulate. I call Eric the regulator. And Luke, Quick Draw. Revco, thank you as always. I checked that out. It's interesting. Greg Landry, thank you so very much, Greg. Greatly appreciate it, Greg. And Revco. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to get, like, I think we did pretty well tonight. We got almost 1,000 viewers. At one point, I think we were over 1,000. Is that right, Luke? Eric? Were we over 1,000? It's nice. The selector, thank you. It's nice because sometimes, like, it'll be, you know, in the day that, like, nobody will get there won't be a notification. So it's fun. It's very amusing with 200 to 300 viewers, but it's extremely amusing with 1,000 viewers.
Because everybody can enjoy the soulful sounds of Major McConnell.
Nice, Luke. Thank you so very much. And also for this channel, like I said, like I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding. I'm not a democratic socialist who joins a $20 million venture capital monstrosity facing legal repercussions for possible negative behavior. We won't get into that. We would never get into the skeletons of the morally superior. We would never do that. No, 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 no. No, no, no. We would never, in a million years, get into the hypocrisy of extremely, extremely wealthy, and more power to them, democratic socialists who are the best capitalists you've ever seen in your life. The racket, ladies and gentlemen, is not voting for Trump based on principle, which is what I've done and what 74 million Americans did. The racket is saying, you know what? I used to be a Bernie Sanders supporter, and I was lured into Trump's orange Jim Jones vibrations. I was lured by his Rasputin-like orange scent. And I just was deceived. There's the great deceiver we all know, and then there's the greatest deceiver, Trump. And I just want to make amends, everybody. I am so sorry. And I would have been on CNN and MSNBC, and I could have, oh my God, you could have been published anywhere. Oh my God. Did you see? Former Bernie supporter. He liked Trump for a second, and he realized that he was wrong, and he's trying to make amends now. But I don't know if we trust him. But I'll still watch his YouTube channel. 500,000 subs later. And then I could have tried to join a monstrosity of, oh my God, the racket. Oh, the racket. But how do you live with yourself? How do you look yourself in the mirror saying, Trump worked with Russia? Do I really believe this? Oh, who cares? Who cares if it just ruins the lives of people around him and paints millions of people as disloyal, which is exactly what they do. It's pretty unbelievable too. Well, I was on the left. The reason I was such a passionate at one point Bernie supporter. My articles went viral in the Hill, the Huffington Post, and Salon. The reason that I picked Bernie Sanders over Clinton was because he was the only choice in 2015 and 2016 in terms of Democrats who wanted to bring home Americans and quagmires. I thought that. I didn't know that he was part of a racket, and when we found out that he was being completely railroaded and cheated, I thought that maybe he would actually stick up and defend himself, and that was a ridiculous thing why would I even imagine that? What kind of person was I that I would imagine he would defend? Well, you look what's taking place now. The left is imploding. What drives me has always been bringing home Americans from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. I wrote against these military endeavors or these counterinsurgency conflicts in the Hill, in the Jerusalem Post, in the Huffington Post, and I want American soldiers home, with their families. I don't want them in never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts, because these are unwinnable endeavors. There's no path to victory, and it's a completely immoral thing, to do that, to do what Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld and President Obama's foreign policy got us into. But you look at the left now, and honestly, I have a great deal of respect for Jimmy Dore. I I really do. He's withstood the slings, the arrows. He is, I disagree with him on a lot of, in terms of politics. Here and there, I disagree on certain issues. I have a very, very different take from his take on Israel and other issues, on President Trump, perhaps. But Jimmy Dore is a genuine human being. And the people he used to work for are the definition of actors, people, thespians, people who are into just theatrical performances. I think he's funny, yeah. I think he's very funny. But the people he used to work for, he left, which was a fantastic decision. And then, of course, they try to go after him. But see, the thing is, he's gone up against those people trying to go after me too, which didn't work out well for them at all. I'm like, those little frogs that are the little tiny frogs. They're like yellow or orange or green. No, well, green frog. They're like these exotic colors that snakes try to eat, and they're poisonous. I am not like a big fish, but I'm a tiny little frog. And I'm just talking about Clinton's email servers and Trump bringing home Americans. Just leave me alone. Just being published, hopefully soon, some wonderful places. I don't even care about Clinton. You know what? Even I'm tired now about Clinton's email servers. She got away with it fine. Honestly. I don't obsess over the Clintons. Their personalities actually don't even bother me, to tell you the truth. I find it fascinating they get away with everything. But with Trump, it's like you get this visceral reaction. But see, getting back to what I was saying, there's no politician I look at and I get a physical reaction. With Trump, you have hundreds of thousands of people, I'm sure, that have an actual physical reaction to looking at him. That's frightening. It doesn't say that doesn't say anything about Trump. It says something about their psychological state, not Trump. But they went after him, Jimmy Dore, and he fought back and defended himself, unlike Bernie Sanders, who doesn't fight back. Trump fights back. I've fought back, defended myself. From numerous times. But you look and it's like the people going, oh, here's an example. Kwame Brown. He's amazing. This man is already a legend. What he's been able to do against a public relations monstrosity. Kwame Brown, his channel, Bust Life, deserves 10 million subs. What he was able to do against an absolute public relations monstrosity is just decimate people who tried to, harm him. It was pretty unbelievable. And it was a beautiful sight to behold, really beautiful sight. So I have a great deal of respect for Kwame Brown. A lot of respect. I think he's absolutely fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, Judge Joe Brown is another legend. I love him. I love Judge Joe Brown. I saw his latest appearance, but you hear him talk about a lot of events in U.S. history, and it's a really, really enlightening take. Just, YouTube policies. I don't want to get into it, but he is definitely a man of principle, extremely, extremely intelligent, and Judge Joe Brown is amazing. He's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. To my super chat, thank you so much. Eric and Luke, thank you for being amazing and, helping just make these live streams work out so smoothly. I can't thank you both enough. Everybody, give a lot of love. Give a lot of love to Luke and Eric. Quick draw, Luke St. Martin, and Eric, the regulator, H526. I want to thank everybody here. This has been absolutely fantastic, people. This has been absolutely fantastic. And Joey, thank you so much. Everybody here, I'll see you tomorrow. I will do another live stream tomorrow, obviously. Anita! Thank you so very much. You know what? It's interesting. I'm looking at another. Anita, thank you as always. I'm looking at a different live stream from my. Oh, no, I'm looking at this one. Anita, thank you so very much. Anita Eddie, thank you so much. So I thought I was actually. Alice, thank you. I thought I was looking at a different live stream because I was looking at one of my old live streams. So anyway, thank you, Anita. Thank you so very much, David. Many listening to you from far and wide. HA, yours is an important voice of objective reason. All power to you, mate. Thank you so very much, David. And I have so many wonderful viewers in Australia. Thank you so very, very much. My Australian crew is fantastic. I've had so many wonderful Paul Bartlett. I've had so many wonderful viewers in Australia. It's really wonderful, and I just want to thank you, Anita. Thank you so very much, Anita. David, Anita, thank you so much. Yeah, we had Greg. Thank you, Paul. Revco, everybody here, we had a great time tonight, and I will see you. You know what? I'll do a live stream tomorrow night at probably the same time, probably around 9 p.m. Pacific tomorrow night. So everyone be here at 9 p.m. Pacific. Willow, hello. Anita, thank you so very much. David, thank you so much. Everyone, God bless. Have a great evening.